Happy New Year's Eve. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Mom. Happy New Year's to all of you also.
Yes, we're very excited to speak with you here on Tansson TV Plus. And Mom, how are you doing today?
Brandon, I am doing just fine. And today we're going to talk about a Happy New Year, Charlie Brown.
Yes, this is the 30th ever Peanut special, and this one came out in 1985.
Yes. All right, Brandon, then I will go ahead and give you just a little bit of information about the movie. All right. And so this particular episode, it is Charlie Brown is in school and it is time for our winter holiday. And so he is hoping and hoping that he does not have any homework. And of course, the teacher gives him homework over the holiday. And his homework is to read War and Peace and to write a book report about it, which actually leads to Charlie Brown a little dilemma for Charlie Brown because he's also invited to a New Year's Eve party. And so what does he do? His question to himself is, do I go to the party? Do I read the book? Can I do both? And that is what Charlie Brown is trying to figure out what he can do. And then if he does go to this party and it's a dance, who does he invite? So that is the story of a Charlie Brown's New Year's.
Well, Mom, thank you so much for that.
You're welcome, Brandon.
Yeah, and so this is overall, I believe, the third time that we've spoken about Peanuts over the last month and a half.
I'm sorry. Yes, it sure is.
Yeah, Mom, overall, what did you think about the special here?
Actually, Brandon, I remember the special when as soon as you turned it on, I remembered it from that time period, um, and um, and yes, and I do remember liking it that at the time, and I perked right up. And I watched it again, and we ended up watching it twice. And I remember the songs, and I actually remember the storyline. So yes, Brandon. So this particular special did stand out. It was to me, it was very memorable, and so I thought a lot of this particular show.
Yeah, and I personally really enjoyed it as well. And so, even though I think I'm pretty well versed within Peanuts, I will say that going into this one is I didn't fully remember how the first half of the special went, in the sense of like with War and Peace and what the specifics of it. But as soon as we hit the middle portion, uh, and at Peppermint Patty's house, I remembered it all like immediately.
Yes, yeah, it is very memorable, and it was nice to see Peppermint Patty again. Just to reflect back just a little bit, Peppermint Patty was not in the Charlie Brown Christmas episode, but she was in the Thanksgiving episode, and then she is in, of course, in this particular special also.
Yeah, and so it's definitely interesting to see sort of which group of characters are in which special. I mean, having seen the free specials, because a lot of them didn't seem to share the same sort of group of characters.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. And we were introduced to a couple more in this particular episode also because I had to write down some of their names. So yes, you're correct. They do not seem to share all the same characters.
Yes, and so just a few days ago, we had discussed a Charlie Brown Christmas, which was number one, and then a month ago we spoke about Charlie Brown Thanksgiving, which was number 10, and then now we're at number 30. And so, have you been able to see some of the progression that's occurred, even though we've seen them out of order?
Yeah, yeah, I have seen some of the progression that has occurred. I will say it's become a little livelier, in this particular episode because Patty's just a lively person anyway, and so it has become livelier. But then at the same time, the same characteristics are still there as some of the other ones. The music stands out because I think that's so important in the Charlie Brown specials. Um, the songs they go really well with the particular plot. And so I really enjoyed that with this episode. And then also the dancing occurred back in this one, kind of like in the Charlie Brown Christmas episode. They had another dance sequence in this special, and I thought that was really important. And then Charlie Brown still has that same sense of uncertainty, and that was actually to me that's been in all three particular episodes or specials that we've seen. That Charlie Brown is still a little uncertain and does not quite know what to do, and so he tries to make all these decisions. His decisions aren't always correct, but he's doing his best to try. And then I thought was interesting is that he was reading War and Peace because no one reads War and Peace. I'm sorry, and I was an English major, so I could say that. Um, but he had to read War and Peace as a young person, and they made a point of saying it is 1,136 pages, which I find just extraordinary that someone would have to read over the holiday break, and then he had to write a book report on top of it. And so, um, and so I don't know if Schultz at that time was trying to say something deep about it about Charlie Brown at that point reading War and Peace, but that just stood out to me as being a why. And Bram, what were your thoughts about the episode?
Well, first of all, in terms of the War and Peace part, I just thought that was so amusing, and wouldn't that mean Linus should have the same assignment?
You would think so. But the way Linus was kind of saying everything makes you kind of wonder because she knew a lot about War and Peace, which I thought was very interesting. And I will never forget that, whoever, if I'm assuming this is true, but Tolstoy's wife supposedly had to rewrite it by hand 7 times. So he seemed to know a little bit, which made me wonder if he actually possibly could have, in the fictional world, have already written his, written his. But yes, Linus should have been in the same dilemma, had the same dilemma as Charlie did. But no one mentions that. And of course, everyone's supposed to be the same age, and no one else seemed to have this assignment. It just seemed to be that Charlie Brown was the only one with this assignment.
Yeah, and speaking of ages, and that was my personal perception of everything is that I always felt Linus was a little bit younger than Charlie Brown, so seeing them in the same class to me was kind of interesting.
Yeah, yeah, that was interesting. I thought that too.
But yeah, especially at different parts. I'm starting to wonder if this assignment for War and Peace was just for Charlie Brown in particular, because it didn't seem that anyone, like you said, anyone else had this assignment. But in the same regard, Charlie Brown didn't seem to understand that, like, even the next homework by the end of the special. So maybe all this homework is just for him.
It might be because he has to read Crime and Punishment next, and so and Linus didn't say a word about it, and he was sitting behind him. So maybe Charlie Brown is just special and gets all these extra assignments.
But yeah, I feel like some of the songs included in this special were quite addicting, such as the slow, slow, quick, quick.
Yeah, that and the musical chairs number. I never would have thought that musical chairs would have an addicting song to go along with it. But yeah, yes, you're right. Both those songs that they do that are in this particular special, they are very addicting.
But yeah, and yes, in terms of the musical chairs one, before the music even started playing, my mind immediately went back to that song, and so it truly just shows how memorable this is. And yeah, and speaking of memorable, though, I did want to say that, as we mentioned last week, that these Peanut specials use child actors, and Mom, we have a little bit of a connection.
Yeah, we do. There were two child actors that I recognized. I know there are a host of them, but the two that I recognized was Chad Allen and Jeremy Miller. And so for us, it would be Jeremy Miller who actually played in Growing Pains.
And yes, and speaking of that, though, yeah, there were numerous times in which Linus was speaking, and that I was just thinking, it's just like, this has been, his character on Growing Pains, and just sort of the way that that it's said. I feel like he always, especially in the younger years, on his during his time with Growing Pains, carried such enthusiasm in the way that he spoke, and so I could definitely sort of feel his presence in the special.
Yes, yeah.
And so, Mom, how was it for you? Sort of recognizing the main two voices for this.
Actually, it was kind of fun to look back and to see who they were. When you first mentioned it to me, it didn't quite stick with me. And then when I did a little research and kind of read a little bit more, I was like, oh, okay, got it.
And yeah, and I will say, speaking of them, is that I feel like in this special, this is probably the most that we've heard from Linus.
I don't know. To me, it kind of equated a little bit to the Christmas special because Linus always has something profound to say. It seems, and so to me, it seemed like every time Linus speaks, is something profound, and so to me, it was almost equal.
Well, I'd say more so that for this one, I definitely agree. Was that everything he says is very profound. But whereas I feel like in this one we get a little bit more of his like his playful side a little bit and see sort of more of his enthusiasm and personality in this. Whereas for the most part, even though we see him quite a bit in these other specials, I feel like we don't. At least the two others that we spoke about, I feel like his speaking roles are more so for specific scenes, whereas this one's more throughout. At least in my thoughts.
Okay. Nope. That sounds good, Brandon.
And I feel like this special too was sort of broken up into two parts. One with him trying to do the homework and going for the dance class, and the second part at Peppermint Patty's house. But overall, like, what'd you think of the whole special? Any favorite parts?
Well, I really liked the special, and like I said, for me, my favorite parts were the kind of dancing scenes. I thought that was great. The little redhead girl that who Charlie Brown says he likes, she's consistent in other episodes also, and so not episodes that we've talked about, but in some of the other episodes that are out there for Charlie Brown, and so I like the consistency in that. So I just thought it was for a watch. I thought this was a really nice watch.
Yeah, and I will say I had done some little bit of research about the little redhead girl a couple years ago, and of course, right after seeing these specials. And so, as a fun fact, as you may actually know, is that the little redhead girl, even though she's from the comic strip, was actually an unseen character for the comics.
Oh, no, that I did not know. And she kind of, no, she seems to just kind of when the specials that she's been in, she seems to just kind of move in and out. She's not seen very long, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, she's definitely there very quickly, and so it says, yeah, and doing a little bit of the research, of course, and we found out in this special her name is Heather, but apparently, yeah, in the comics she's mentioned repeatedly, never seen, and that the only time she's ever seen are in these animated specials.
Oh wow. Well, that's good to know, Brandon, because I surely did not pick up on that.
But yeah, but even as we saw in this special, we see her at first from the back, and then when we briefly see her face, and then she's gone.
Yeah, she's gone really quickly, but not before dancing with Linus. Although I don't think we saw her dancing with Linus.
Yeah, we didn't see that. We just saw her walk in, and then that's it. And then the rest of it's conversation. So we hear more about her than we ever see of her.
Yes, yes, the mysterious woman for Charlie Brown.
Well, Mom, overall, like I said, I always love doing this, and I think that it's been so fun being able to speak about these Charlie Brown specials because even though they may not be a series of itself in the traditional sense, I feel like it's so nostalgic and iconic. These specials.
Yep, they sure are, Brandon. And I've enjoyed speaking about them with you too.
But yeah, but these may not be the last that we hear of these specials, but at least the last for 2024.
Yeah, this will be the last for 2024. And we thank all of you guys for kind of watching us this year. And we look forward to speaking about additional shows in the upcoming year.
Have a great day, everyone.
All right, bye, everybody. All right, everybody. Have a great day.
And we'll see you in 2025.
All right. Bye bye.